Hello, my name is Shaun Barrett. I'm a third year Digital Media and Society student, and I'm taking part in the work placement program, which is kind of a bit different than the standard. I'm working remotely, I'm working entirely digitally, and before I go into more detail about how that works out, I'm just going to play this video from Ross Bollinger, who is my work placement mentor, and he's just going to explain a bit about what he does and the benefit of publishing and sharing media online. So hopefully the sound on this is okay.
Hello, so my name is Ross Bollinger, and I run the web series, the animated cartoon Pencilmation, and I've been doing that for a while now. It was always kind of a side project for a long time. Ages ago I made the first episode, 10 years ago, maybe more. It's always been kind of a side project. I went to art school. I went to the School of Visual Arts in New York and studied animation, and at this point in my career, I'm making a living full-time with this web series, but up until about a year ago, I worked freelance creating like corporate video, animated corporate videos. So it was a lot of stuff like, a new app would come along and they would want a video explaining how their app worked, and I would do the animation for that. And that's how I made a living for ages. So, the point is, knowing how to do animation and knowing how to use digital media is very valuable, considering everyone has a device. There's a zillion apps, and everybody wants some kind of video or some kind of animation showing how to do this or how to do that. And so that's how I made a living for a long time. Now I'm still doing animation, but I'm fortunate enough to be able to make cartoons. But just so I guess all I can say is it's very valuable to be able to know how to use digital media and work within the digital world, because there's so many opportunities out there. So learn all the programs, know how to draw, just know how to use all this stuff and put your work out there. Now when I'm hiring artists, I just go online. I go on Tumblr, I go on Newgrounds, I go on all these websites where people post their work, and then I can just scroll through and see the stuff I like. They're not even necessarily looking for jobs, but they're just posting their work online. So I would say to you, post your work online, just make things, and people will find out about them. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say. I'm just referencing my email here, talking about the things I was going to say, but that's about it. Good luck, and I hope that everything goes well for you.
Right, so as he said, Pencilmation is the name of the series. He primarily uploads them to YouTube, and it was originally a side project that he started 10 years ago when YouTube was a new site. It was in its infancy, but as the site grew in success and his series grew in popularity, he was able to evolve it from what was one-man side project into what is now a team of about 20 or so regular workers. And that's not even including commissioned workers who contribute their work to once-off projects, one-off videos. And now I'm one of those animators for Ross's Pencilmation team. And we work entirely online, which is handy because he's based in Philadelphia, and that'll be a bit of a journey every Tuesday. So I'm going to explain a bit how I met him in the first place. Let's just talk. So there's a social networking chain. A lot of online networking and socializing using social media sites, and as you can see, it's more than just one that led from one point to Pencilmation, where I am now. It's really important to spread yourself across multiple social media platforms when producing any kind of product or content. So I initially signed up and started on the website Newgrounds, which you mentioned, which is basically primarily an independent site for animators to upload their own work, and it's a very tightly knit community. It's fairly small, so it's very easy to get in contact with other animators and artists, and that's kind of how I met my little community of people. I just started interacting with a few artists on there that I liked, and they asked me to make a Skype, so I made a Skype, and then I was added to a little Skype group that initially had about 10 or so people in it. But that's where sites like Twitter and YouTube, Tumblr come in. If people in the Skype group would find something that they like, they find an artist that whose work they liked, they would link it. They would link that artist's work, their Tumblr site, their Twitter site, into the Skype group, So we were all able to find and connect with new artists, and if we really like them, we try and get in contact them into the Skype group. So over time, the group just grew more and more, and I got to meet and just talk with a lot of new animators, and it was very interesting. And it's through there that I met a person named Brian, who is currently the sound designer for the Pencilmation series. And eventually, sometime last year, he was just like, you should send Ross some of your work. So I emailed him, and Ross liked it. And the first project I did with Ross, this was even before the work placement, and it was just a once-off Pencilmation video. It was just going to be this video, and then that was it. That video is called Pencilmation Nuts and Bolts. It's animated by myself. This is April of last year that it was uploaded, and since then it's nearly 5 million views, which is an incredible reach. And that's pretty typical numbers for the Pencilmation channel. You can see 1.6 million subscribers. It's huge, and it's just been an absolutely incredible experience for me to be able to get involved with this. The convenience of what I do is extreme. I get to work from home. The animation work that I actually do, I'm not going to dwell too much on this because this would be a presentation for another time, but I'm just going to briefly summarize the actual steps and what exactly it is that I do. So like I said, I'm an animator on the project. First start off with a storyboard, which is basically just like a slideshow like you're watching now. It's just, here's one drawing, the character is standing there. Next drawing, he's midair. There's no actual animation that's occurred yet. There's no transitional frames. It's just basic setting up the shots and the flow of the animation. And then the animatic comes in, and this is where I draw over what I've done and start adding transitional frames to kind of bring it to life. Then you have the cleanup stage, which is again tracing over the animatic that I just done, but cleaning up the lines, just making it look not as ugly, hopefully. And then finally the colouring, shading, final touches, adding background, adding audio. But luckily the benefit with working with Pencilmation is that I don't actually have to worry about that too much. Like I said, it's a team of people, so each person has their own dedicated job. Ross generates a lot of the initial ideas for videos, and then you have one person doing music and sound, one person script writing, helping out with script writing, and then you have the whole heap of animators, about 12 or so regular animators there now, including myself, who do various steps. Some people only do the storyboard, some people only do the cleanup, and then there's some people that do every single step from start to finish. For instance, one cartoon that I was asked to work on, the storyboard was already completed by someone else. When it was handed to me, I just had to revise some character designs, and then I had to hand it off to the next person, who continued with the next step. And then for the nuts and bolts that I showed you earlier, I had to do every animation step by myself. So there's a lot of diversity in what I get to do, even though it all generally falls under the animation umbrella. Sometimes I'm only one cog in the wheel, and other times I am the wheel. But as for how me and Ross directly interact, if it's all online, how does it work exactly? Email and video notes is primarily how we do it. Video notes, like the video he recorded there for us, that's how he does it. We could use Skype and stuff, but there's a time difference. He's 6 hours behind me or something, so it's a bit tricky trying to figure that out. But yeah, these video notes that he sends, they can last 40 minutes long of him going through a script that they already have prepared, going through line by line, emoting and acting out, I want the character to run like this and then jump and all that sort of stuff. And I have to recreate that and put that into a storyboard. And then what happens is, once I have the storyboard done, I send it back to him. He provides feedback, or he'll send further video notes explaining, well, we can take that out, we can move this around, that sort of thing. He sends it back to me, and it's back and forth like that until we've reached the point where we're happy with this. So we'll move on to the next step. So that's how that basically works out. And then once my work is complete, sometimes I'm not asked to come to the end of the animation. That's where it's sent along to someone else. So yeah, of course there's also, like I said, there's group Skype calls, whatever, if I want to partake in those. But there's just a lot of convenience in what I get to do. I still feel like I have a lot of control in how I work, which is probably one of the most beneficial parts of working sort of freelance like this. You know, I work essentially my own hours. There's no hard deadline for any projects we've had to do. It's just, I mean, in closing there, like I said, online work is becoming more and more viable and accessible these days, which is true. I feel like there's kind of a little bit of a negative stigma to making your living entirely online. A few years ago at least, and I feel like that's slowly dissipating as time goes on. So like Ross was saying, if you have a knack for art or animation or graphic design, music, film and photography, any sort of creative media, it's just really important to put that out there, put that online and start networking with people, because you can either get work with, you know, a once-off commission project, or you can get a full-time job. And I plan to continue working with Ross even after my work experience is done. So, you know, it's absolutely something to look into if you're in any way interested. So that's about it from me. Thanks very much for listening.